So, Deadpool and Wolverine. To say that this is one of the most popular films of 2024 is a big understatement. Everyone was hyping the movie up. The marketing was marketing, the people were peopling, it was just a big movie. And in terms of what the movie delivered, it definitely delivered for Marvel fans. To most people, it was a satisfying ending to Marvel's Fox era. And while it of course didn't become the biggest film of 2024, it made a load of money. But now that we're in September, that means that the movie is going to be releasing on streaming pretty soon. And what would follow next is obviously physical media release. Which leads us to this video about the newly released 4K Steelbook for the film. Before we get into the issues I have with the Steelbook, we obviously have to know the context of it. As I'm sure that most people are aware, Deadpool and Wolverine's marketing campaign was mostly focused on how different the two personalities were. To be specific, it was more focused on the love-hate relationship of the two. And in my opinion, it definitely worked for the film. Considering that one is more lighthearted and the other one is more serious, that led to the marketing team having a goldmine of potential for the two. But back to the point I was trying to make, the marketing obviously emphasized on the two different personalities. And the 4K Steelbooks that were recently revealed definitely emphasize on this. However, there is a problem I have with the Steelbooks. So let's dive into the problems I have with the Steelbooks. So the first issue I have with these Steelbooks is that it feels like they're good in concept but terrible in execution. Because outside of being part of a marketing campaign, what is really the point of this? The first issue I want to really point out is the choice of two Steelbooks, as it obviously shows you that you can choose between the Wolverine and the Deadpool Steelbook. Obviously, preferences are preferences and you are free to choose which one you like. But considering you have to choose the Steelbooks on which one you prefer, it just makes the concept of having two Steelbooks of the same movie just utterly worthless. And considering we don't know much of the differences between the two, it feels like it strengthens my point more. Because if I've already made my choice to buy one Steelbook, then what is the point of buying the other one? I'm gonna get the same movie and the same features regardless of what Steelbook I pick. Of course, as I mentioned beforehand, preferences are preferences. But if we put into the lenses of how the companies want us to view these Steelbooks, which is to obviously pick one or the other, then at that point you should just make one Steelbook with like the two Steelbook front covers on like each side. And just another thing that I want to point out is collectors. With some collectors, they spend money on the same movie. This is something that should appeal to them. But why do I think this doesn't appeal to them? Well, it's because of one major difference. They collect different editions of movies. Usually with different editions, they're often known as special editions, which contain special features not present in the original release. But the thing is that some collectors like to spend their money on special editions of the same movie. And the reason they do is because they know that they're going to get something more worthwhile than their regular release. So what's the problem with Deadpool and Wolverine's case? Well, the thing is that it's on the same format, so it's obviously going to have the same special features. And the thing is that to my knowledge, they're not special editions, they're just normal releases. It feels like a cynical way of making profit because they think that the consumers and the collectors are just dumb idiots. Because the main intention here is for both consumers and collectors to pay for the same movie. And now some of y'all in the comments are going to say, well, what about Pokemon? You know, they do pair games. What's wrong with Deadpool and Wolverine doing it? Now, to be fair, I don't know anything about Pokemon. I've never really been interested in Pokemon as a whole, but by using the power of 0.1 second research, Pokemon games kinda have a reason to be released in pairs. Pokemon is mostly about both fighting monsters and also collecting them. Some Pokemon are exclusive to their own individual game, and the way you can obtain these types of Pokemon is by either buying the game itself, or you could trade it with someone else. It helps justify the reason to have pair games, because in some way it strengthens the adventure part of Pokemon, considering that the main tagline is literally gotta catch them all, which invokes some action and adventure. Deadpool and Wolverine's case is kind of similar, but there's one big difference. There's nothing special about the two. They are literally the same editions, just with a different coat of paint. But anyways, that is pretty much all I have to say for this video. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.